Yeah, so you've been down here in the Richmond, Virginia area at what you're calling Ozil for about a half a year now. And yeah, how's it going for you?
Nothing's changed. Right? The spirit doesn't change. Everything else may appear to change, but the spirit doesn't change. I would say it's a real continuum of reality. Despite everything else that's changing and people coming and going and going through their changes, the spirit is constant. It doesn't change. So it's reassurance relative to the nature of spirit. It's the ever-present, all-knowing, unchanging bliss of itself. I don't know if you understood any of it, but you asked the question, I've given you an answer. So, everything that you said.
And you've been using it as a time to continue your work, get your writings done.
Absolutely.
Reviewing some music.
Keeping up with music and writing. Not writing about music, but writing about life. And keeping up with the very intense standards I was maintaining not too long ago. We listened to some videos. We reviewed some videos last night, and I was surprised at the intensity that I was maintaining back there in the days of, let's say, doing things for the Bruce Galanta people. And so, very demanding music. Very intense, demanding, and very beautiful, if you ask me. Quite thought it was beautiful, yes. I think the intensity of it has its own beauty. See, that is to say, what it means to me is liberation of enlightened energy. See, liberated mind, liberated fingers, liberated guitar playing. See. But it's not liberation in terms of any kind of wildness. No, it's word. But it's word from another level, about itself, not about anybody, living or deceased. It's not about anybody, it's about it itself, the presence of the living spirit.
In addition to those you've kept in touch with, from throughout the years since being down here, do you have any new students or acquaintances or people that you're in touch with?
No new students. No old students. No students at all. Very good. Best way. No students. Nothing to study. Without expectation, without demands, without influencing. Being part of the scenery down here for the moment. Musically, there's not anything to speak of yet. There are leads, but no concern about it at this point. In touch with the instrument that's needed to keep up with it, and so there's no demand at this time for that, which is not to exclude future potential. I'm always open to that as part of my service, heart service, not self-service, but heart service. Musicians hear that. Heart service to all beings. Via the sound current. In the spirit of the way of the masters, who also worship the sound of spirit.
Yeah, how do you feel about what is going on in the world, and especially with war in Ukraine and all these different...
I like Hugh Crane. The crane of Hugh. See? But what is happening is a extremely disappointing demonstration of hatred. When we don't need it, and we can do better than that. However, it has appeared to me that the Hugh Cranes, we're talking about the warrior spirit of these people, the shining example of what it is to be true to yourself, true to your land, true to your culture, even to the point of death. So that's a mighty demonstration. Courage. And love of country. I wonder how many Americans living today would do the same under similar circumstances. A lot, many, some, a few. Who loves this country that much? Right, who in the face of rockets, right, missiles, you know, and mortars, and all manner of gunfire, say, I love this country. I'm going to die for this country. Please let me die here. If you take me away, I want to come back to this country. I want to die here. Sounds like natives. Like the Native Americans have that tone. See, the Native Americans were just as possessive and identified with their situation. Right? Said, no, it's a good day to die. This is good. We're going to die. You know, it's very open, very selfless, see, very heartfelt and selfless. So there's a lot to be learned from this tragedy in terms of what is good in human nature. Because good grief, we're seeing beyond our needs what is bad about human nature and how amok it can go. Crazy, insane, sort of lust for death and bloodshed, sick, see, and altogether demonic. See. Let it be known that is true demonicness, see, in its full glory of murderous, reckless destruction. Disregard, that is, for human life. It means nothing. It amounts to fortunately for us, We have the opposite view of that. Life is all, and it is good if you know how to live it, and if you know how to treat others. It shall be so for you. It can be a heaven if you know how to use it, instead of the hell that certain ignoramuses are making it as a show of force. We don't need a show. We all know savagery. Way, way, way too much. And hatred. See? And disregard for children's lives. My goodness. Long ways to go yet, old friends in spirit. But I'm happy to support you in spirit, whoever you might be, wherever you might be. Ukraine. I'll read some notes for the people, for their inner minds and souls journey through the time-space worlds. Agni, fire, Ati, burned already. The intense burn of the Agni Shamt, fire sign, teachings burn through all conventionality, mediocrity, and cowardice. On the playground of luminosity and emptiness. Distrust is total. Doubt is possibility. Formlessness, contemplation. Non-theistic deities. Mindfulness, shamanism, vipassana, awareness. Emptiness as absence. Brilliance of absence. Absence of hang-ups. Original, primordial ignorance. What? Who? Where? When? Why? Ati. Inaccessible. Ati. Profound. Ati. Simple, pure, and immediate, direct, and gone. Phew. Om. Ah. Om. Om. Body. Ah. Speech. Hum. Mind. A spontaneous mind. Suddenly, from nowhere, the endless view. What one cannot easily find is the bright clearness of pure space. The brightness of clarity. Practicing. Dhamma. Endless. Dhammakaya. Endless view. Sambhoga Kaya. Unstoppable. Self-liberation goes into self-liberation. Ungrasping. Nirmanakaya. Coming to direct cognition of the natural state here now. Great nature, selflessness without end. Initiation is to show the natural state of all beingness. Seeing the natural state is the initiation in itself. Nothing here, all gone. No grasping, no removing. Both disappear. Hope and wish for nothing. Wishing is also not a good practice. All binding and obscurations are liberated. This view is beyond practicing and meditating without doing anything. So let it go on continuously. Direct introduction. Suddenly to introduce everything in a moment, like lightning strikes, naturally liberated from the beginning. You add nothing, but are introduced directly to it, understanding it fully. Cause without effect, effect without cause. Non-empty emptiness. Is everything empty of itself? Is anything empty of its non-self? Profound emptiness. Is the ultimate noumenon of other emptiness. Meditation on self-emptiness brings about a temporary reduction coarse level of obstructions, but meditation on other emptiness is required for eliminating them entirely. Self-emptiness, emptiness of non-entities. I have heard other emptiness, emptiness that is the ultimate nature of non-entities, that is, emptiness that is the ultimate nature opposite from non-entities. Those that abide as self-empty are self-empty. Other emptiness, though thoroughly established nature, ultimately exists. That which is not dependently produced and does not deteriorate from its own entity is called the ultimate nature. Although all consciousnesses are compounded, pristine wisdom is not a consciousness. Self-arisen, pristine wisdom, which is ultimate truth. The essence of enlightenment is without course or results, nothing new. All poisons are self-dissolving. Condition means samsara. Emptiness is vastness. Realizing mind's empty nature. Buddhahood is not a place you can reach. There is no doer of your Dharma practice. Your simple knowing is the Dhammakaya, the body of the Dhamma. The doer of virtuous action is emptiness. There is no doer of Dhamma practice. Just knowing is Dhamma practice. Just knowingness is Buddha nature. All beings know knowing. Mind is no change or unfoldment, since neither exists, neither birth nor death. All nature is Dharma Data, Dharma Dhatu. Meditate on non-duality, the neither this nor that, not one thing or the other, nor or. Set the self free. The mind never arises, you do not move from the empty and lucid Dhammakaya, the true nature of your mind. Only your mind's misperception harms itself. All things of karma are the mind. This mind is emptiness itself. The root of falling is self-thought. This is good practice.
yeah, we were reviewing a couple dates that you had recorded on video. So you had the audio and video of a couple past concert dates.
Yeah,
One of them,
80s, in the 80s.
yeah,
Going back 30, 40 years.
Mhm.
And
yeah. One of them was with saxophonist Nick Brignola, and yeah, I found it interesting to hear you playing the more traditional bebop kind of stuff. You know, playing with his group. I mean, you had Don Pate on bass, but other than that, it was Nick Brignola's Cats
Right.
along with you. And
yeah, it's good.
yeah, I enjoyed what I heard. It was a different flavor, more traditional bebop style music, but
My
yeah,
playing is still straight ahead, though.
Mhm.
I wasn't, what is the word, intimidated by the bebop virtuosity necessarily. Because it's a school to itself. It's a language that is unique. But I didn't have much to do with it. Heard a lot of it in my years as a player, but I was never drawn to it as if it had to be my language, particularly. And as you probably heard, I can get around changes my own way. I can create things or devices in the process as I'm hearing it that accommodate what I need to say about that. Right. Yes. Yeah. That was good.
yeah,
Because he's like one of the greatest of the bebop players of the United States and the world. Actually, he's a world-class player. Fluent, completely fluent. It was great to have him as a friend. I think that's something I can say with respect for him and love for him. He was a friend, a real friend. He wished we played more. He said he obviously got more out of my playing than I did out of his playing, because I heard so much of him. But he wanted to expand beyond that. He knew that I was into something different, and he wasn't afraid to talk about it, and he didn't feel it was inferior to bebop. In fact, he may have felt that it was not inferior, but maybe superior to bebop, since it's coming from a truer place in the moment. Although bebop again is quite an art form, right? It's very technical and very demanding art form, but after a while you get it. You get the rhythm of it, you get the concepts, then you get 5 horn players together who went to school together. I say, all right, enough of this music. Yeah, we love it. Yeah. So what else about that?
Yeah. Well, and then there was the contrast. I mean, then we watched a later date. I think it was from 2005 when you were at the Tonic with some of the usual suspects that you play with, and yeah, I mean the difference was was stark. Just like going from the bebop stuff is more intellectual, more technical, and then once your stuff came on and it was more of your original tunes, it just felt like it was a whole different wave. It's like
yeah, it's a different world. Right. One is like the ego world, which is great. We have to navigate the ego. And then the other one is like the unconscious. See, unconscious world. See, where it happens by itself. It doesn't necessarily make logical sense because it's making unconscious, illogical sense. And there is such a thing as illogical sense. See? We're talking about space sense. Selfless space sense. So when people have said to me, oh, we come to hear you play, they come to hear that style of music, this unconscious, non-bebop voice of the inner reality, you see, the spirit. To come for in that way, I'd say, yeah, I am a shaman guitar player. Or the guitar shaman, if you want to call it that. Right. Delving into very deep spaces. I think that's what you're talking about. It got so deep, man. It's like, what's going on here? It's like a blur. I call it the blur, entering the blur. Yeah. Own thing. Right? Because we have different levels of consciousness. And we have to remember that as humans and as practitioners. See, we have some control over our level of consciousness, our state of consciousness. And so it's up to us to determine when and what and why we are in a certain state of consciousness. And if we can get out of it or move beyond it, as part of our mastery of life relative to states of consciousness. And so when people have come up to me in the past, and many have, and guitar players, and say they want to play like that, I can't tell them how to play like that. Because you can't be there when it's happening. There's nobody there. So I wish them the best. I said, go, enjoy playing like that. If you can get there, you got to take a leap to get there. A leap beyond yourself to get there, so that what is deepest and more powerful in us can do what it has to do. That's all I'm saying. That's it. You heard it, you're around it. You know. You've heard me play many times.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, a lot, yeah. And it continues to unfold itself. See? And that's the mystery of it. We're talking about the mystery of consciousness, unconsciousness, and superconsciousness, which is what we need to open to. And the superconsciousness is not necessarily bebop. Okay. It doesn't necessarily speak English. It may not necessarily be human.
Yeah, during my visit here this weekend, we were also reviewing who you call Shumpa, that's Rakalam's father, birth father. A note that he wrote about you before he passed away, and it was a very strong letter. He put a lot of heart into it. You know, he's speaking the truth. You know, and I'm not surprised that it was written, because you know, I hear his words as true, and it was true for him, and I know that to be true from what I've experienced of you. You know, talking about your function and you know your mind, or you know.
Right, influence on his son.
Yeah, and influence on Rakalam. So, yeah, and that letter sounded like it was one of the last things he might have wrote before he passed.
Right.
So it was like an awakening.
Exactly.
Awakening for him. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. See, I didn't spend much time with him. You know, it wasn't like I took him on and formed a student or anything. I mean, I had profound respect for him because he was the father of one of my profound musicians, players. Bob Moses. Bob Moses. So I respect the parents in a huge way. These are our people, parents, are part of the ancestry. So that a person of that intellectual stature, we wouldn't expect it to happen. You know, we wouldn't expect it to happen. But spirit works in strange ways. I can't say I did anything to him, you know, to change him, his mind or anything. No, but he read my books. He heard my music. He's seen me in action. We've talked, we've had contact, he had questions. So that was a striking statement from a professional writer and father of Bhapuji, wasn't what he was into. And so there we have it. At the very end of his life, he has this poof explosion of awareness and awakenment. This life is about the spirit. And so I feel it can happen. And it's better to happen before you go than not. So it happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen for Richard Moses. I knew he was a student of Leonardo da Vinci. A very studious, philosophically inclined individual. Strong mind. I'm happy I got to meet him before he departed. Touch him in the spirit. Said some very powerful things to me before he left, personally. Very moving things as a father. One of his wishes was that I would keep an eye on his son, Bhapuji, the rhino, drama. And I told him I would be happy, but I can maybe nudge a rhino to move towards the water, but I definitely can't make it drink it. Mm-hmm. They won't do what I say. I understood. So that was a very beautiful thing for a father to do at the end of his life, which was to show super compassion for his son. And I feel privileged to have been a part of his prayer for his son, who's still with us, strong, still. Arts will influence Rhino or Source. So, any other comments on that? It's great. Great. He's very fortunate to have a father like that. Awakened that way. Saw the light. Was grateful for the light. Said to me, his life was complete now.